It all started the night my brother, Daniel, came home beaming with excitement. He had just proposed to Grace, his longtime girlfriend, and she'd said yes. He couldn't stop talking about how perfect she was, how she was the love of his life. But as I sat there listening, my chest tightened. Grace wasn't just his fiancée, she was also the woman I had secretly admired for years. I masked my emotions with a smile, congratulating him, but deep inside, resentment began to fester. The wedding preparations kicked off in earnest, and Daniel asked me to help out as his best man. I played the part, but my true motive was different. I wanted to get closer to Grace. I told myself it was innocent, but deep down, I knew it wasn't. As the weeks went by, Grace began to trust me. I was there to run errands, solve last-minute wedding issues, and lend a listening ear when she felt overwhelmed. She started calling me for advice and sharing personal thoughts, and I reveled in the connection we were building. But my feelings only grew darker. I found myself obsessing over her, wondering if she could ever see me the way I saw her. I began to interfere subtly, taking Daniel's phone to intercept her calls or sending her messages under the guise of helping with wedding details. It was manipulative, but I didn't care. The night before the wedding, Daniel stayed at one hotel, and Grace stayed at another with her bridesmaids. I couldn't shake the thought of her being so close yet out of reach. My mind raced with ideas, and before I knew it, I had decided to act. I told myself it was harmless to visit her, just to talk. I stopped by a store to pick up some snacks and drinks, but I also purchased something else, a sedative. It wasn't planned, at least, that's what I told myself, but once the thought entered my mind, I couldn't let it go. Later that night, I knocked on Grace's door, claiming I wanted to check on her before the big day. She welcomed me in, grateful for the snacks and drinks. We talked, laughed, and everything felt so natural. When she wasn't looking, I slipped the sedative into her drink. Within minutes, her eyelids grew heavy, and she slumped into the chair. I hesitated for a moment, guilt creeping in, but it wasn't enough to stop me. I set up my phone to record what would happen next, a twisted way to ensure she couldn't deny me. The hours that followed were a blur of shameful actions and dark satisfaction. When Grace finally woke up, confused and groggy, she stared at me with wide eyes. "What happened?" she whispered. I showed her the video. Her face paled as she watched, disbelief and fear flashing across her features. She threatened me, swore she would go to the police, but I reminded her that the video would ruin her life, her marriage, everything. "All I want," I said, "is for you to keep quiet and play along." The next day, Grace walked down the aisle with my brother, her smile strained and her eyes hollow. She couldn't meet my gaze for long, but I caught the flashes of pain and resentment in her glances. After the wedding, I convinced Daniel to let me stay with them for a while to help out. Grace protested, but she didn't dare reveal the real reason. Living under the same roof with them became my ultimate power play. I took every opportunity to remind her of the video, to assert my control. At times, I felt her hatred burning through her silence, but other times, I saw something else, surrender. This wasn't love, and I knew it. But it was too late to stop. I had crossed the line, and now, there was no going back. Living under the same roof with Daniel and Grace was a nightmare. I reveled in the power I held over her, using the video as a tool to manipulate and control her every move. Grace's once warm and vibrant personality had dulled, replaced by a perpetual fear and resignation. I watched as she struggled to maintain her composure, her eyes betraying the pain she felt. But my facade of control began to crack. Grace's strength emerged in quiet, defiant ways. She didn't break, she fought back. She confided in Daniel's friends and family, small, hesitant confessions about her torment. It was enough to spark whispers, to plant seeds of doubt. The first cracks appeared when Daniel's best friend noticed Grace's distress and confronted me. I laughed it off, claiming it was just wedding jitters. But his skepticism lingered. Then one night, while I was out, Grace mustered the courage to confront Daniel. She showed him the video. I expected her to play the victim, to beg for forgiveness, but instead, she laid out the truth with a quiet, unshakable resolve. Daniel's face paled as he watched his anger and betrayal growing with each frame. It was a moment of truth, a reckoning that shattered the illusion of my control. "I can't believe this," he whispered, his voice shaking. "How long has this been going on?" I tried to brush it off, to spin a web of lies, but Grace's silent strength shattered me. Daniel's disbelief turned to rage, directed at me. The calm facade I had built crumbled, exposing my darkest actions. I tried to defend myself, to manipulate the situation, but there was no way to hide the truth anymore. Grace's strength gave Daniel the courage to act. He packed his things and left, unable to remain under the same roof as me. For the first time, Grace was free. She moved out, away from the constant reminder of the horror she had endured. I was left alone in their now empty home, the power I once held reduced to dust. But my descent didn't end there. Daniel's friends and family began to piece together the truth, confronted me with it, and slowly, the web of lies I'd spun began to unravel. I lost everything, my brother, his friends, and the respect of anyone who mattered. The video Grace had shown Daniel was shared, not just with family but with the police as well. It was my undoing. Facing legal consequences was the harshest reality I had to face. I was arrested and charged with coercion, manipulation, and assault. In prison, the truth echoed back at me, louder and louder with each day. The guilt and shame I felt were overwhelming. Grace's quiet strength haunted me, a constant reminder of how far I'd fallen, of the pain I'd caused. Grace's life slowly rebuilt itself. She found courage, rebuilt her strength, and sought therapy to heal from the trauma. She divorced Daniel, not out of anger, but to give herself space to heal and move forward. It wasn't a quick fix, but she was on her path to recovery. For me, there was no redemption, no way back. The man who once had everything, family, respect, a future, was now alone and broken, paying for his actions. The dark path I'd chosen had destroyed not only my own life but the lives of those around me. The story of my betrayal, my abuse of power, became a cautionary tale. Grace's quiet bravery became a symbol of resilience, a beacon of hope for others who might find themselves trapped. Her story, the truth that emerged, was the first step in her healing journey and the beginning of my slow descent into nothingness. In the end, I was left with nothing but the memory of what I had lost, my brother, my freedom, and the person I once was.